Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathshala on Biophysics. I am Professor Dhananjay Bhattacharya of Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics. Presently I am the head of Computational Science Division, but before this I was Professor of Biophysics Division for about 15 years. Now in this series of lectures on quantum biophysics, you are learning how to develop quantum mechanics, how to use it in biological systems, for example, from small molecules to drug molecules to proteins and to multimolecular complexes. Now, in the previous lecture, we have heard how to apply quantum mechanics in macromolecule. So, quantum mechanics, initially it was dealt with the small atoms like hydrogen atoms. It was developed for that, and then it was applied, used, and further developed for making bigger molecules consisting of 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 atoms. For those, quantum mechanics directly can be used, but in these systems, we cannot use quantum mechanics directly as such. So, in case of macromolecules, where we have thousands of atoms, we have to use some other approximate method, forgetting about the intricacies of the high-level motions of the electrons, the very fast motions of the electrons, which give rise to Heisenberg uncertainty principle, etc. So in the last lecture, we developed how to use classical force field method, where we can calculate potential energy of a molecule with respect to a zero value, and then this potential energy consists of many terms. One is the bond stretching, one is the bond bending, and then torsional motion, and then long range interactions such as van der Waals interactions between the two unconnected atoms, then electrostatic interaction in terms of Coulombic force, which is also kind of long range interaction between non-bonded atoms, and these appear because of the partial charges on these atoms. Now these partial charges are calculated by quantum mechanics. Now in all these cases, we considered that there is no medium surrounding the protein, or there is no medium inside in between the protein and the drug molecule, but in principle, in reality, these proteins are soluble. They are present in the cell, and in the cell there are up to 90% of water molecules. So water molecule, as you know, has a huge damping effect in terms of dielectric constant. So this dielectric constant will definitely perturb the interactions. Now, which interaction will it perturb? It cannot perturb the bond stretching or bond bending or van der Waals interaction, but Coulombic interaction, which is charge-charge interaction, that gets perturbed, that gets reduced significantly by the dielectric of the solvent. Now, solvent, if you consider water, that has a high dielectric constant of 78, but this high dielectric constant of 78 is applicable when there are millions and millions, or I will say not even millions and millions, about 10 to the power 20 atoms, molecules of water in between the two charges. But in this case of proteins, there are maybe maximum 1000 electrons, 1000 water molecules in between two charges. So these 1000 water molecules cannot give a damping as given by a solvent dielectric of 78. So we are going to learn how to use these small number of water molecules, and then how to calculate their effect in modulating the electrostatic interaction between the atoms in the protein. So there are several approaches. Initially, there used to be slow computers, so we used to calculate the potential energy considering some approximate effect of the solvent molecules. Now, as and when the computer power is increasing, we are going to better and better approximate methods, and the present scenario is that we consider all the water molecules surrounding the protein with certain buffer within certain range of the molecules. So that means we immerse the proteins inside the water molecule box and then do the simulation, calculate the interaction energy, considering the water protein and protein interactions. So how these were developed slowly and how to use these methods we are going to learn in this lecture.
So objective of this lecture is, in the earlier lecture series you have learned quantum mechanics for atoms as well as molecules, but both these were calculated in vacuum, assuming there is no medium in between the electrons and the protons. That is absolutely fine. In the force fields also, whatever we learned in the last lecture, those also calculate the potential energy in vacuum without consideration of any solvent effect. But biological macromolecules, they function and interact, modulate the structure and everything in presence of mostly water. There are few systems such as membrane proteins where they function in between lipids, but most of the cases, most of the globular proteins, they have proper function in water. Now, water reduces the Coulombic interaction strength through its dielectric constant. We know any molecule or any medium other than vacuum will have some dielectric constant, and water dielectric constant is the maximum, which is 80. But these dielectric constant definitely will modify, reduce or increase some of the interaction energies. Now, macromolecular dielectric is known. We know that dielectric of water in a test tube full of water is 80. But what about the microscopic dielectric? What about the dielectric constant offered by few water molecules in between the cleft of a active site of a protein? So this objective of this lecture will be to find out that and to mimic the water solvated biological macromolecules property in an appropriate way. Now we have learned this complete force field of biomolecular structure and interaction. We have the bond length stretching energy, we have the bond angle bending energy, which can be calculated in both ways and sometimes in both the ways together. Both of these are harmonic. They do not depend on solvent media. We have the torsional energy, which varies periodically, which also do not depend on water. We have the van der Waals interaction energy, interaction in between two atoms due to instantaneous dipole and induced dipole interaction. Their interaction energies are also independent of water. But the Coulomb interaction energy, which has the dielectric constant, which depend on water or solvent model. Solvent present in between the two charges Q1 and Q2. So here we have shown you the picture, the red and the green picture. One of them is interaction between oxygen and hydrogen. The green one is due to interaction between two carbon atoms. And here we considered both these atoms are in vacuum and there is nothing in between the two atoms. When they are as close as 2 angstrom, 2.5 angstrom, obviously there is no room for another water molecule or something to come in between. But when they are as far as 10 angstrom, there are some possibilities, but we have not considered that. Now, in the solvent effect, as I told you, the bond stretching or angle bending terms, they cannot depend on surrounding medium. The energy due to torsion angle variation also cannot depend on the medium. The van der Waals interaction by nature, they cannot depend on the solvent medium, but the Coulomb interaction energy can depend on surrounding solvent medium to a large extent. So we have seen that E Coulomb equal to Qi Qj by epsilon Rij when we consider all these other terms and the unit conversion factor, the K Coulomb comes to 332. The epsilon of the above equation is the depending on solvent dielectric. The value of epsilon is 1 for vacuum. The value of epsilon is 78.8 for water molecule, water medium. The value of epsilon is around 36 for ethyl alcohol and so on. So more polar the solvent is, the dielectric constant epsilon is larger. However, the effect of surrounding solvent is about Avogadro number of atoms, such as when two charges are placed on the two sides of a test tube, the test tube is full of water, they will produce a dielectric equivalent of epsilon equal to 78. But when the two atoms are close to each other, how is their dielectric? It is not yet known. Now the dielectric appears because of alignment of polar solvent. So when we bring a sodium ion in front of a water molecules or set of water molecules, initially the water molecules were close to hydrogen bonded situation with each other. So this water molecule is hydrogen bonding with this water molecule, this is also hydrogen bonded to this is hydrogen bonded to this as well as this, and so on. Now in absence of this sodium, they are forming hydrogen bond with each other. But when we bring the sodium ion with a net positive charge, plus charge, this sodium ion will try to interact with the oxygen of the water molecule, because oxygen is negatively charged and hydrogen is positively charged, and these charges are partial electronic charges. But still the sodium ion will interact more with the oxygen in an attractive fashion, and so the oxygen atoms brought close to the sodium ions. So similar to this water molecule, this another water molecule, possibly this one, also will feel some interaction, and this oxygen will come close to the sodium ion. When this water molecule rotates to form closer and attractive interaction with the sodium, this next neighboring water molecule, they also will rotate and maybe translate also, so that can make another hydrogen bond with this first layer of water molecule. So similarly, this water molecule which was initially here, they will rotate, that will rotate to form hydrogen bond with this as well as this, and so on. So slowly all these water molecules will align, and these water molecules will interact more closely with the sodium rather than this sodium interacting more closely with another chlorine atom or something like that in negatively charged atom on the other side. When these water molecules are of huge number, such as Avogadro number, then this interaction between this sodium and a chlorine somewhere placed far from this will have an effect of epsilon equal to 78 or 80. But when there are few number of water molecules, this effect will not be as large as 80 as normally done by a solvent and a total huge number of water molecules or a test tube full of water molecules. Now these solvents, if we do not have the solvents, we know that the capacitor will place a charge and they will act as a charge storing device, and this charge storing device will change when we add a medium with dielectric constant epsilon. So this epsilon with a medium will allow more charges to be stored by this capacitor, and this is because the interaction between this positive plate and negative plate will reduce significantly because of the medium as compared to this without the medium, and this dielectric constant is measured in that fashion. Now in a protein or similar molecule, when we have placed them in water molecules, as like shown in this such situation, there can be water molecules surrounding the full protein. This is a typical protein, but this atom, for example, it will interact with some atom located at here, some atoms located at this situation, and when these atoms are interacting and in between there are hundreds of water molecules, there may be some charge interaction damping. That means solvent dielectric effect is there. But when this atom is moved from this side to this side, there will not be sufficient water molecules in between these two atoms positions. In that case, in this region, there will be lot of atoms of the protein instead of solvent water molecule. Now the water molecules, they are free to rotate, they are free to move, so they can get aligned because of placement of these two charges at these two sides. But when the second atom is brought here or here instead of here, these atoms in between these two atoms, they will not be able to align so fast, or they will not be able to align at all also, because they are part of the protein molecules, and protein is interior especially is quite rigid, so they will not be able to move or to adjust the charges, or they will not be able to align, move or reorient so that their interaction with this atom is stronger than the interaction between these two atoms. So the dielectric effect by the protein and the surrounding molecules will not be as strong as that seen in the capacitance situation. Now, although there will not be such changes, but there can be other changes also. Now, we know image charge construction. When we have a charge Q placed here in front of a grounded metallic plate, in that case, an image charge is formed equidistant from this other actual charge. So, this image charge is actually formed, or we consider it to be formed, so that the effective potential at this surface is 0. Because this surface is grounded, it has to be 0. But if we consider only this charge, this will give an effective potential on this surface. So if we consider an image charge located at this side with this value, then only this potential will be 0. So we can now consider if we have another charge here and its image charge here, and in that case we can calculate actually the interaction energy between these two charges, not only by these two charges but by these two charges as well as from this image charge to this image charge and all those things together. So that will give rise to the total interaction between two charges placed in front of a metallic grounded plate. The same thing happens when we have a dielectric discontinuity. If we have a dielectric medium of dielectric epsilon, say alcohol, and we have another dielectric medium, say water, and separated by some glass container, in that case, if we place one charge in front of that within a dielectric medium epsilon, another charge will appear on the other side with the dielectric epsilon prime. Now this image charge will not be same as minus q as in the earlier case when there was grounded metal here, but this charge will depend on the two dielectrics in this fashion. And the image charge also needs to be considered, because we have to find out that the potential at this region and the forces on this region are balanced. So there cannot be any extra force on this glass plate. So to consider those things, those continuity, we need to consider an image charge. Now the proteins or a biomolecule generally can be considered as a spherical system, and we showed you that the dielectric inside the protein is not as high as water, 78, but it can be 1 or 4, or sometimes some people think that it is around 15-20, but still there is a dielectric discontinuity, and because of this dielectric discontinuity in a spherical situation, if we place a charge here, or there are obviously charges within the proteins also, say aspartic acid, glutamic acids are there, and peptide groups or carbonyl oxygen, we have seen their charges are around minus 0.4 or plus 0.5 and so on. So because of those charges, there will be some image charge created on the other side of the solvent, and then if we have two atoms interacting with each other, there will be interaction between these two atoms and interaction with the image charges to these atoms also. And considering all these together, one thought that implicit solvent model, or a model which can be considered as dielectric function instead of dielectric constant because of protein immersed in water will behave like this. So at very large distance, if the two atoms are placed at very large distance, in that case the dielectric will be around 78, but if the atoms are brought closer and closer, effective dielectric will reduce, and at very short distance the dielectric will be just 1. So that means when we consider a hydrogen atom, the electron and the proton are at a distance of about 1 angstrom, their dielectric constant is 1. But when the atoms are far, or one electron and another atom are far from each other, say at around 10 angstrom, their dielectric is nearly 60. When their distance is 30 angstrom or more, their dielectric is 78. So that means large distance will have more solvent effect or more damping of Coulombic interaction, and shorter distance there will be no damping. Now this expression is a quite complicated expression. We have already seen that our protein molecules typically have about 1000 to 10,000 atoms, and we have to consider many interactions. So we need to consider some expression which are simple enough to calculate by computer. And this expression is difficult to calculate by computer. It will take a long time. So another approximation is consider a linear dielectric. So epsilon as a distance equal to distance, and it varies with the distance. So these two, in effect, they are showing a large separation, but at long distance they will tend to merge together closer, and both of them effectively say the same thing, that if I have a short distance 1 angstrom or 2 angstrom, the dielectric is very small, and if the distance is larger and larger, the dielectric is increasing. So epsilon equal to distance is a very good approximation of the dielectric medium or of the protein solvated by a solution, but it has difficulties. One of them is that if I consider a uniform and macromolecular dielectric or macroscopic dielectric or distance dependent dielectric, what the problem we see are that most of the globular proteins, they will tend to become spherical. Now most of our proteins are nearly spherical, but they have clefts and grooves and pockets, etc. And these are the generally active sites where some other small molecule or some other proteins bind or some reactions takes place. But if because of this treatment of implicit and uniform solvent model makes them purely spherical, then we lose the clefts or grooves or pockets or jetting out loops. So effectively our protein simulated will be different. In implicit dielectric, so we have this effectively reduced to a spherical balls, which is not really the case. So the other approximation is that if we consider some amount of water, as for example, if I have a DNA has two grooves, so this is the minor groove where most of the drugs bind, these are the major groove where most of the proteins bind, the sequence specific regulatory, gene regulatory proteins. And so if I simulate this molecule with a uniform dielectric, in that case this molecule may become a spherical system, which is not the desired thing. So what we do is we take a bag of water molecule, as if the water molecule is surrounding the whole DNA or whole protein, but they are not very thick. So there is about 8 or 10 angstrom thickness of water molecules, and these water molecules will be sitting in this region, will be sitting at this region also, and so because of these water molecules, these two groups will not be able to come closer and closer to merge to form a spherical ball. But these are a very crude representation or approximate representation. In realistic situation, small number of water molecules is not sufficient. So people try to simulate the situation with taking a spherical ball of water molecules and a protein or DNA placed inside that nearly at the center of the spherical molecule. So in that case, I can simulate this situation along with the protein, along with the water molecules. So what happens here is some of the water molecules, particularly at the surface, they face a difficult problem. They have some pulling effect, some attractive interaction by the molecules inside the sphere, but they don't have any interaction outside. So if for some reason instead of pulling effect there is a pushing effect, in that case there will not be any pushing effect from this side and this water molecule may fly away. So some water molecules may fly away from this side, some water molecules may fly away from this side, some water molecules may fly away from this side, and so effectively after a while we will land up with a smaller number of water molecules. So if some water molecules fly away from here, they will go far and far and will not have stronger interaction with the center, so they will continue to be moving outside, so they will be effectively going bad. So to constrain them, we have to consider some other effect also. Now second question is, if I consider this huge system with water molecule, so this protein is of our interest, water is not of our interest, but we have to consider the water because the water is giving the actual surrounding of the protein. Now as we have seen here, these water molecules are quite far from the protein. Now why do we consider so many interactions which are not of our that important? So if we can reduce some of the interactions, for example in this situation we have some 50,000 atoms and our protein is having some protein or nucleic acid is having some 1,000 atoms, and so effectively our system is becoming huge, but we are needing information of only few of them. So in order to reduce the cost of calculation, what one does is that instead of taking all the interaction between the protein and water to water, if we can cut down something. Why do we cut down? For example, if we consider the van der Waals interaction at distances of 4, 5, 6, 7 angstrom, the interactions are sufficiently strong. But when the distance is coming larger and larger, for example at 9.8, 9.9 and 10 angstrom, the interactions are very small. So, and all of them are negative. So if we can drop these out, so if we can approximate these to be zero. Now how do we do that? We can make use of some cutoff. So that means that if we consider this blue line as the actual interaction energy, so when the distance is larger than 10 angstrom, if we say that their interaction is zero. But we have to calculate also not only the potential but the first derivative of the potential also. The first derivative of the potential, they will see it as a discontinuity, and as a result derivative of the potential will come closer and closer to 0 and 0, and then suddenly will shoot up like this. So that is also undesirable thing. So what we have to do is consider some other effects, some such a way that we reduce the interactions to 0 at some cutoff distance, but this potential derivative do not show a hike, or the potential does not discontinuously drop to 0 from a given value. So one of the method is called shifting function. What we do is that if we think that we will stop the calculation of potential energy at 10 angstrom, so we calculate the interaction energy at 10 angstrom, and then that is the RC. We have the interaction energy at 10 angstrom by this part, and then we subtract this part from interaction energy of all of them. So what will happen is this line will actually come down and slowly at this point become 0. At this point it will become 0. So this is called shifting function, but this reduces the energy, all the energies by some amount. This amount is small though, but some definite amount. And in this case, if we consider the van der Waals energy, this energy is always negative. So we know that we have actually the energy is slightly more than the real calculated energy. But this may have some difficulty in case of electrostatic energy. So in that case, what is done is another thing called switching function, where the interaction at smaller distance is calculated as normally. In a range of R low and R high, we calculate the interaction giving a switching function. So this switching function will have a value of 1 for distance of R low, and this will have a value of 0 at the distance of R high. And so effectively this V prime R will be same as V prime R in this fashion for distance smaller than RL, and at large RL automatically this will become 0, and so there will not be any discontinuity. So this way we can calculate the van der Waals interaction. But long range electrostatic interaction, we said, is a long range interaction. As seen in this case, even at 10 angstrom, the interaction energy between oxygen and a hydrogen is about minus 6 kilocalories per mole, which is not a small number, which is quite important for dictating or breaking or making hydrogen bond. So we have to calculate interaction energy even for larger distances. Now how do we do that? One of the method is periodic repeats of the system. So if we consider this is my primary box, we have a protein and some solvent molecules in this box, and this box is full of solvent, and we consider periodic repeat of this box. So that means whatever we have here, the same thing is repeated here, the same thing is repeated here, and so on. So if we have that, and then if we can calculate interaction between this green protein and this red ion, interaction between this green protein and this red ion, interaction between this green protein and this red ion, interaction between this green protein and a red ion at this location, and so on. Now, and then if we need to move these atoms, what will happen? So this atom, which is almost at the boundary, they may sometime move in this fashion, in this direction, go outside the primary box. In that case, obviously, since this is a repeat of the same thing, mirror image, so this water molecule or this ion will also come down. So effectively, total number of atoms will remain same in this primary box. Some atom, instead of staying here, it will come here. This is called periodic boundary condition and periodic repeat. And in this situation, if we want to calculate the energies of the molecules, we have to calculate all these. Now, typically, this length of the box is around, say, 50 angstrom, and we have to calculate this interaction to this interaction, which will be around 50 angstrom. This will be about 100 angstrom. This will be about 150 angstrom, and so on. Now, when do we stop? That is another important thing. We have to stop somewhere, because otherwise we cannot infinitely go on adding calculations. So effectively, our potential will depend on Rij plus A into La. La is the box length, A is the number. That means in this previous situation, this is here A is 0, here A is 1, here A is 2, and so on. So if we consider A up to 10, and then also this summation will be a huge sum. So this evaluation of this becomes a very difficult thing in computational thing. So instead of these point-centered partial charges, what people have done is convert these charges into some distribution of charges. So they distributed the charges following Gaussian distribution. So instead of this atom centered charge, they consider a distribution of charge. Instead of this atom centered charge, they consider a distribution of charge, and then they consider the images of the distribution of the charges. So these are the real charge-charge interaction, and here we have the interaction between the distributions of the charges. Now these Gaussian distribution, so effectively we have all these different terms, coordinates will be generated because of periodic repeat. We consider these atoms as well as these atoms. Now these atomic coordinates can be obtained from this way. So I have xi, yi, zi, and then from xi, yi, zi, I have to get coordinates as xi plus la, xi plus 2la, xi plus 3la, and so on. Similarly, for yi, xi, yi, zi, we have to get xi plus yi plus la, xi, yi plus 2lb, and so on. So following these, if we have this as the primary system, the DNA is shown in spherical situation, van der Waals sphere, and these parts are the images. So we have this image, we have this image, and so on. And now we see that there is no discontinuity. So although I have made a boundary that there are not many atoms, the number of atoms are restricted within this region, but this water molecule at the boundary also sees another water molecule on the other side, and so there is no water molecule at any boundary so that it can fly away so easily as shown in the spherical situation. Now if we have to calculate the interaction energy, we have to calculate in this fashion. So Rij is actually the distances between two atoms. Here I am showing the one-dimensional case, and A into La plus B into Lb plus C into Lb. So A, B and C are the integers from 0 to n. It can vary. La, Lb and Lc are the lengths of the periodic box in angstrom unit. So in that case, I have to consider the summation not only for I and j, but also for A and B and C also. So this sum becomes a huge sum, and typically we have 30,000 atoms, 40,000 atoms, and so this sum will be 40,000 into 40,000, and so you can imagine by a computer also you will need hours to calculate its interaction energy if we have to calculate for A equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 10, B equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 10, and so on. So to reduce this cost, effectively they have taken a very clever method. The method is that instead of considering the fixed atom centered charges Qi and Qj, they consider some spherical distributions of the charges. So in this primary space, I have the charges, actually atom centered charges, and in the image, periodic images, we have the distributions of the charges. So these distributions are Gaussian distributions or normal distribution. Now these normal distribution have a great feature that if I can do a Fourier transform of the normal distribution is given in this fashion, that the result of the Fourier transform becomes again normally distributed. So what we can do is we convert these partial charges, instead of the partial charges, the Gaussian charge distributions, and then convert them into Fourier transform space, that is reciprocal space, and then we can add up all these. The adding of these interactions will be effectively adding of the h square, a alpha h square, etc., etc. So instead of this, we will be having very effective potential, and then that will be also exponential, and then we can back Fourier transform into the real space to get the total energy. So in this lecture, we have learned how to use the modern computational facilities to calculate potential energy of the molecules
considering all the water molecules and how to their effect is perturbing the protein structure and function. But these are not ultimate, there are further developments going on, such as in these cases we considered that the charges of the water molecules or the protein atoms, they are fixed, but people are trying to improve that, so that when the charges, when a charge is doing some short range interaction with some other atoms, then it may get perturbed. There are other approximate methods also which are getting developed and getting used extensively, such as the model of implicit solvent method has been developed in a greater detail to consider the boundaries in the form of finite difference Poisson-Boltzmann equation, and these applications, these are getting applied for especially huge macromolecules or macromolecular complexes, where the number of atoms in the system rises to 100,000 or 10,000, 1,000,000, that means million atoms. In those cases, we cannot consider all the atoms, we have to further reduce and go to further and further large scale or coarse grain methods, where we will be using again partially quantum mechanics and quantum chemistry to apply these in realistic systems. And thank you very much for attention.